Okay, hello, and thank you for joining us today on GSU's Thought Leadership Interview Series. I am Michelle Sabasco, Director of GSU's School of Extended Learning Academic Partnerships, and today we're interviewing Dr. Terri Winfree. Welcome, Dr. Winfree. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for the
Dr.
invitation.
Winfree served Prairie State Community College for over 25 years and recently retired from the position of Prairie State College president. Dr. Winfree now serves as the Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce president and also works as an adjunct at GSU's Extended Learning and for both our criminal justice and communication programs. We are so glad that you're here with us, Dr. Winfree, and we are looking forward to getting to know you a little better. So to start out, tell us who you are, Dr. Winfree.
Well, I think you did a good job. I wear a lot of hats. I always have in my life. So when people ask me that question, you can always go the route of saying, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a Christian. But I think when I think about work and I think about my career, all the different roles I have all lead back to people. I think servant leadership, serving in education in some sort. And I've always described myself as being a connector, a person who, when I meet people, I like to find ways to help them and advance them. I do some leadership coaching, and I think that helps also. I can connect people to who I think will be beneficial for them to know so they can all grow in their careers or in their personal lives.
Thank you so much. That's great. And so we learned a little bit that you do teach for GSU's Extended Learning Program, and of course, both our criminal justice and communication programs. Can you talk a little bit about the sort of classes that you're leading?
Well, I'll start with extended learning, and I've enjoyed this summer. We had a couple classes that were leadership classes. Leading Through Crisis is one. I'm also a John Maxwell certified trainer and coach. So I leaned on some of that, and we were teaching Leading Through Crisis, which doesn't necessarily mean COVID, but this summer it definitely lent itself in that direction. And I also did teach for the extended learning a class on building the leader within. So taking the person and how you build your leadership team from within an organization, or it doesn't really matter if it's an organization or even an individual person, how they can build themselves as a leader. And then in the criminal justice department, I've always taught there for years. And it's been along the restorative justice path. So some of them are restorative justice in the classroom, restorative justice in the criminal justice system, and different formats using that. I was scheduled to teach also an international peace class, which I was really looking forward to. I think we need a lot of that right now, but that class unfortunately didn't run, but it is going to be running in the spring. And then finally, I also teach communications, and I've taught several communications classes over the years. This semester at Governor State, I'm teaching strategic communication, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of PR and marketing and finding the strategy on when you're marketing something behind the message, how do you use that strategy to actually sell? And we're doing a great project right now where the students are writing press releases for the Center for Performing Arts at Governor State University. So they're getting real life experience in writing press releases about something that's actually happening at Governor State University. And they have such wonderful programs going on right now. Now you've got an additional 25 people that are learning about the programs and trying to spread the word. So I think that's just great, the way they operate that program.
So awesome. And I know this past summer I did take your series of courses with the extended learning, and they were just awesome. So if you could tell our audience just about some of the thought-provoking content that you are including in your classes. I know you touched a little bit about it, but maybe expand a little bit.
Well, depending on the time, we have smaller groups and you can really get in. When you say thought-provoking, I always go back to my restorative justice training. I think that's really important. And recently, because of the equity and initiatives, the different equity things that are going on, I've been able to bring that in as well, and also open up people's eyes, I think, to realize that having good conversations, difficult conversations, thoughtful conversations helps to teach people, and helping people when they hear from others, not just me as a teacher, but because I will say I facilitate a discussion and make sure that everyone is heard, then that also opens up people's eyes to learning from everyone else or in the room. And I try to always provide that opportunity for those that I think might not be heard. I try to guide them and give them their voice, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And your kind of discussion there a little bit about equity, and that's just top of the line discussion right now. So given that, can you talk about the kind of problems that you're trying to solve and why, and maybe why they're important to you?
Well, let's go to the world peace. a little bit too much of a topic to solve here, but I do believe it's understanding. I believe the key to solving so many of the problems that are going on, whether they're local problems, whether they're within the state, whether they're within the world, it's about learning and understanding other people and why people do the things that they do. So with the, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the whole Black Lives Matter thing that's going on, I really believe it's my place to use my voice in a way to get people to understand, not that they have to believe what I say or be in the same opinion that I have, but for them to listen and realize, what I have is white privilege. And I would like to share that, because I think sometimes people, when they listen, and if it's somebody that they've listened to before and they've enjoyed having conversations with, and it's a safe environment, I think they're willing to listen. And I've seen people who've actually, their eyes were open during these conversations and didn't realize that they did have some biases that, were kind of hidden and they didn't even realize. I think the term people are using now, implicit bias, we all have it. I mean, we do. And so it's just an educational opportunity. Anytime to have a conversation, it's a good conversation, is important to me. I don't tend to hang around with people who are all exactly the same and have the same beliefs. I tend to surround myself with people with a lot of varying beliefs, and I think that it helps me to be learning always as well.
Couldn't agree more. And so, as the president of the Chicago Southland Chamber, what interesting trends or trend have you observed in our region?
Well, my transition from being a college president to going to the chamber has all been fairly recent, but I have lived in this region for my entire life. So I'll kind of just speak to that. And, I see that there are so many great things that are happening in this region. And actually, we've been having at the chamber, we've been having monthly mayor's panels and inviting mayors to talk about what's happening in their community. And it's amazing. The growth is happening with or without COVID. I mean, they're still moving forward. The intermodal industry is huge. I think you just need to look around and see all the Amazon growth that's happening. But right in the Chicago Southland region, there are two brand new huge plants that are being built, and it's jobs. So it's job growth. And there's a lot of robotics that's going on. So the whole transportation hub in itself is growing. So I see that happening. COVID has really changed some things now with our hospitality and retail. So I think, that's changing a little bit, but the region as a whole is stable, and there are jobs that are available, and there are great educational institutions like Governor State. And so it allows people to be trained for the industries or retrained if they need to retrain themselves. So, I'm happy to see that things are continuing, even though COVID is affecting different areas. It's still not stopping the growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And so just building on that a little bit, what do you think the Southland is going to look like in a year, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Well, I could go get my mask and put on and say my COVID safe world, but I think that that's going to be hanging around for a little while. I really do. As far as growth in the industries, you know, healthcare is always leading and will continue to lead. So there is never a shortage of students going into the healthcare programs, and there's never a shortage of getting the jobs for those. So that's important. And again, the industry of transportation, the logistics, Governor State just had a great expansion program and a great grant to work on the supply chain. So I think that is huge. The third airport is right in our footprint. And when that is finally finished, which is still moving, and I attend meetings on that a lot. So there's still a lot of change happening with there. I'm really positive about that because that will help the growth of the region. That will help with jobs. The educational institutions are on board to help with that as well, because they're prepared to train any new careers that come with that type of an avenue as well. And I think it's hard to go beyond a few years. I really do, because there's so many that are unknowns. Having worked in education for so long, for 25 years, we would often say that the people who are in middle school, the jobs that they're going to have don't even exist now. So, you know, I just talked to one of the owners of 160 Trucking, and they're like the second growing or top growing business in the United States, because of the need of drivers. So the need for truck drivers, and they have a school in Chicago Heights, and they have a couple in this area, South Holland, I believe, but they're growing. They can't get enough drivers. However, then the industry is going to change, and there's going to be driverless vehicles. So how do you plan? You know, we can plan, and we do. We have strategies, and of course, all the educational institutions have strategies for planning for those jobs. But we have to always be, we being any educational institution, we being the Chicago Southland Chamber, we being a person who's a job seeker, we being a potential student at Governor State or anywhere, you have to be planning for the future. And I believe that we are a lifelong learning society because things will change. And so if your job goes away because of the way that the job industry is changing, you have to be ready to retrain yourself and start again.
Yeah, that's so true. So thank you so much for that. Now, we'd like to know, turn you back to the classroom a little bit, talk about your most stimulating intellectual experience in the last few years.
Well, you know, it's all really good. I certainly enjoy the building people, building their skills, building their leadership skills, building their confidence when it's giving a presentation. So that's all. I enjoy it. I think the stimulating conversations come when you get into a discussion about something like diversity and equity, or something about when we have the restorative justice conversations, and when you talk about a victim and offender, and in that case, you're taking not what's the law that's been broken, but instead you're changing the way you look at something and say, who's been harmed and how do we resolve that harm? You know, so I think it's having those conversations and real conversations with people who talk about things that maybe they wouldn't normally be talking about. That's what to me is engaging. And also I think, because we've done a lot of these conversations recently, is really dealing with COVID. It's not dealing with, you know, people are changing their lives. They're working remotely. They're trying to figure out technology. They're trying to balance working from home. They're trying to balance that while they're having their children there. Sometimes it's multiple families in the same household that are trying to share the space. And then there's the whole aspect of that we don't, you don't know what's going on with the person when they're in that space. And there's a whole mental health conversation that needs to be had about all of this. And it's going to continue. And, I don't want to say it's going to get worse, because I try to always be positive with how I frame things. But as the days get shorter, the lack of sunlight is also going to affect people. And it is something that we need to be aware of, and people need to have resources for mental health. And so I hope that especially large employers who can do that can do that, and smaller employers can certainly share resources to their employees, because I see a lot of that with my teaching. I've taught a lot of classes, not a lot, I've taught multiple classes through University of Illinois, and I'm teaching teachers to teach online. So they're transitioning their face-to-face classes to putting them in an online environment. And it's actually difficult. I mean, it's not difficult like learning to do something differently. It's all of it together. When you roll all of that together, that's some not just learning of technology. I keep wanting to emphasize that it's the mental state that it's putting people in, the added stress. So many people are unemployed because of COVID also. So these are, I've had some really good discussions about that, and tried, to see how you can help people to go through that.
Yeah, very, very true. And we're all kind of facing things, and I'm in a multi-generational household right now. So, all right, so back to the interview here. In your opinion, why should students choose GSU's programs?
Well, I can tell you why I chose GSU's programs. I could say you should choose programs and take my classes, but no. I was a returning adult student myself, and I went to Prairie State College as a student, and then when I graduated from Prairie State College, I went to Governor State University. It was convenient. I enjoyed the teachers. I still am in contact with some people that were my teachers then, and some that I'm in contact that were students that were also, we called ourselves non-traditional adult returning students. I don't know, but we went through it, and Governor State is a place that makes it affordable, but it's still extremely competitive. I mean, the faculty members there really made a huge impact on my life. And so I think for me, the location, as a returning adult, and running a business at that time and having two small children, I was not going to be heading downtown. I mean, I knew I had options and it was a possibility, but doing it the way I did it, attending Governor State University, made it what it was for me. And otherwise I probably would not have continued. Well, I would have continued on, and might have taken me a lot longer. So I'm ever so grateful for both Prairie State College and Governor State. I think we have a great educational system. And Governor State also, I've watched it with the dual degree programs, with those abilities to see. I've seen it myself as I see some of my students that I had as community college students, and then I see them then at Governor State, and then many of them have gone on and gotten their master's degrees, and then gone on and gotten their doctorate's degrees. And so it makes me so proud when I see that. And I'm just grateful that the Governor State was there for me, and I think it's a great opportunity. And I know you have programs that you offer where they're at other community colleges at their locations to get their degree. And I think that is super, because it just makes it so achievable for the students.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an alumni myself. Some people might not know that, but I chose GSU too. And to speak to the off-site locations, yes, we are at Triton, we're at JJC, and we are also at KCC. So if you want more information on that, you can reach out to me. I'm going to roll this last couple of questions into one. And we want to know a little bit more about you, Dr. Winfree. What do you love to do in your free time? What's motivating you? Tell us some fun stuff.
Well, you know, I'm a traveler. I am a traveler, and I always have been, even since my high school days when I signed up for the travel club. So whatever I can do to travel. And COVID, of course, came along at a time when I thought I was going to have a break, when I was leaving Prairie State, and before I knew what I was going to be doing in my next chapter, I had planned on doing some really heavy traveling. Well, that kind of didn't happen in the way it was planned originally, because I wasn't going to be flying anyplace, but I did continue on, and I did a 60-day road trip, and I went into the mountains, and I did some walking along the beach, but that's what makes me tick, is having thoughtful, quiet, meditative time in places that really are inspiring. And I visited a lot of waterfalls, mountains, and just prairies and beautiful places, because that's what I enjoy spending my time at.
Oh, that's so
All
awesome.
COVID safe. I have to add that.
COVID safe.
All COVID safe. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Winfree. It has been a real pleasure getting to know you. And I just want to reinforce that GSU offers a variety of classes at our main campus in University Park and, of course, online. We also have our satellite locations available to you as well. And if you'd like more information about any of that, please contact me directly. You'll see my information on the screen here. My name is Michelle Sabasco. My email address is msabasco@govst.edu, or you can reach me by phone at 708-235-3983. Thank you so very much, Dr. Winfree. It has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.